The first time I encountered Stalker was around 2009 or 2010. I was maybe 10, maybe 11 years old back then, and all of my classmates, they were already raving about this series. Die-hard fans, every single one of them. And me? I didn't even know it existed. I didn't have internet at the time, so I was completely out of the loop. But thankfully, one of my classmates came to the rescue. He handed me a pirated DVD, a mix of the Stalker games and bunch of mods bundled together. Mods were already huge in the community, and for me, it was my very first time playing the game. I was instantly hooked. The game felt unlike anything I had tried before. Gritty, raw, immersive, in a way I couldn't explain at the time. And even though it was that messy, modded version, it felt a huge impression on me. But the real introduction, that came when I got my hands on a licensed copy of S.T.A.L.K.E.R. Call of Pripyat. It was the first game in a series I actually finished, and it blew me away. It might seem odd, most people start with Shadow of Chernobyl, but Call of Pripyat, that was my entry point. It was one of the games that defined my early gaming years. Now I've played tons of different games across different genres, but S.T.A.L.K.E.R. holds a unique place in my heart. Not just because of nostalgia, though yeah, that played a part, but because of how S.T.A.L.K.E.R. stands out. The atmosphere, that oppressive, eerie vibe of the zone, the desolation of Pripyat, the violent, authentic mix of desperate survival. Mutants, lonely stalkers, a world that's cold and unforgiving, and yet completely captivating. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you, and very few games can replicate that feeling. I remember the excitement when I first heard about Stalker 2 rumors. It felt like a dream coming true. The first teasers, the hints of what it might look like. We speculated endlessly. How will graphics look? Will the physics be better? And what about the story? How will the lore expand? What happens to the characters we loved? Little did we know, we were signing up for one of the longest waits in the gaming history. Delays, then silence. It felt endless. Yet somehow, that only built anticipation even more. As I mentioned before, the Stalker series heavily shook the gaming world and created a massive cultural wave among millions of gamers worldwide. The story of Chernobyl nuclear power plant has always fascinated people around the globe. It's horrifying, grim, yet captivating piece of history that leaves no one indifferent. However, it wasn't until S.T.A.L.K.E.R. that people truly began immersing themselves in the haunting atmosphere of the ghost city, both before but especially after the disaster. For many, it finally became possible to walk through the streets of Pripyat, even if only in a game, to uncover all the secrets and perhaps the very soul of the city. For some people, it even inspired real-life adventure trips to the exclusion zone. It quickly became obvious that 3 games weren't enough for the fans, so it was only a matter of time before the new wave of content emerged. Hundreds and thousands of mods created by the community itself. Players came together to create new stories and share them with each other, mostly in former Soviet spaces like Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus and more, places where first fan hubs were born. Eventually, inevitably, the series also conquered European, American and even some Asian audiences, so naturally, a sequel was on the way. But what followed became one of the longest development hells in gaming history. The first announcement of the game happened in 2010, with the planned release for 2012. Concept arts and some story leaks circulated online, sparking excitement for the game even more. But unfortunately, JC Game World faced severe challenges, including financial issues, which made continuing production of such an ambitious project impossible. In 2012, the game was officially cancelled. Then, in 2018, out of nowhere, the impossible happened. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 was officially announced for the release in 2021. The hype was enormous. After years of theories, leaks, speculations, and fake news, we finally had confirmation. Some fans already lost hope, but not me, and certainly not the majority of them. However, GSC faced even greater challenges this time. Despite the massive fan support and some backing from Microsoft itself, the war broke out. On February 24th of 2022, Russia attacked Ukraine. I would love to speak of the development team's struggles, but no one could really tell the story better than GSC themselves. So I'll leave the fascinating yet emotional documentary about it in the description. And also if you wanna see the full story of the game's development, it's a wild ride. Finally, on November 20th of 2024, the game was released. It actually happened. For me, that release night was one of the most surreal evenings of my life. I waited for this game more eagerly than my own birthday. No, seriously, I dreamed of playing it, literally. Now I'm in my 20s, and I still can't believe that I'm staring off the menu of the game that I dreamed of right from my childhood. Right here, right now, ready to play. And I shared this really special moment with one of my oldest friends, Mark, who is also a big-time old fan of the franchise. Honestly, it's better if I'll let him to describe it.
Hi, my name's Mark and I'm a huge fan of STALKER universe. Years have passed since I first encountered the original trilogy. The pulp fiction that accompanied it and the user modifications that repeatedly compelled me to cross the exclusion zone's perimeter like an obsessed man. Well, what did I find in the zone? The ability to be myself. STARK 2 for me is a chance to recapture the childlike wonder of exploring a world full of mysteries, horrors, and a thick atmosphere of loneliness in a forgotten place. The first time I launched the sequel, I felt goosebumps spread around my body.
But we didn't rush to press the play button. We just stared at the menu, unable to believe our eyes, and we were describing each other our emotions for probably 10 minutes. But we couldn't wait any longer. I'll be honest, like many others, I had high expectations for this game. I knew there would be some flaws, but I didn't care. My demands were simple, yet tough. The same atmosphere I remembered from my childhood. A seamless, unified zone, familiar characters, all as we knew them. And they delivered, with flying colors. Every expectation I had was completely met. Yes, it's that Stalker, the one we all know and love. But here's the thing, our memories of the old games are often rosier than reality. I recently replayed the entire series and yes, it's atmospheric, maybe one of the most atmospheric series ever, but STALKER 2 somehow managed to exceed even those memories. Well, for me, at the very least. Your experience might differ, and that's okay. Whether you love it more or less, one thing is certain, if you're a fan, you will feel right at home in the zone. The zone itself crushes you with brutal reality, unforgiving mutant attacks in the dead of night, bone-chilling underground labs and abandoned buildings where you might either enjoy a drink by the campfire or cower in a corner, praying for quick death as the controller closes in. The zone has never shown mercy, and it won't start now. Survival is the name of the game. The balance has shifted compared to the previous titles. For example, medkits are no longer rare, they're everywhere. At least at first that seems to kill the survival aspect, but trust me, you will need them a lot. Mutants now demand that you burn through medkits. Bloodsuckers in particular can drain you 5 medkits per encounter, 2 hits and your health bar is almost gone. Every simple boss now require a dozen well-placed shots to bring them down. Ammo here is the cornerstone of survival. You will never have enough. And it's insanely expensive, at least it was before in the previous versions. A single magazine at the earlier versions could cost about 1500 credits, roughly half of what you'll earn from an average side quest. So get used to one fact, even after updates: if you want to survive, conserve ammo. Scavenge rather than buy and hunt artifacts. They're your best bet for a payday. The world itself is massive, 25 square miles of diverse biomes and wonders. It includes not only new areas but all beloved locations from the previous games, all reimagined and linked into one giant map full of new content. Geography has been shifted to feel more accurate. Some areas you remember in one location are now somewhere completely different. How is that explained? Well, it's the zone, logic doesn't apply here. Get used to it. But the beauty, it's stunning. Unreal Engine 5 truly delivers. Sunsets, storms, rain, every moment is breathtaking. Dynamic weather makes revisiting all locations feel fresh. Of course, there is a cost for this beauty. The game is demanding. Frame rates can fluctuate in busy areas, but it's getting better with updates. Even in the first version it was nothing near as the disaster of the Cyberpunk's launch, so it's not that bad at all. I was running a 2K plus resolution, ultra settings, yes of course, DLSS on, and oh yeah, it always has to be on by the default in many games including this one. And it doesn't matter what kind of system do you have, even a 4090 or 5090. Bugs, yes, they exist, but nothing catastrophic. NPCs are mostly alive, drinking, smoking, joking, hanging out by the fire. The promised A-Life system isn't fully active even yet, but it's getting better. So some behavior could be odd, creatures appear out of nowhere, glitching animations, but it's rare nowadays. Major first patch and hotfix already addressed hundreds of issues, performances, different bugs and errors, and after that my average frame rate went through 70 to 80 up to the 90, 110. That's a huge improvement. Also NPCs now act more logically, making the world feel alive. Should you play it now? Right now especially. If you're concerned about earlier versions now, obviously you should play, it's ready to go. The game is fully playable, was the launch day. All the bugs that used to be often make you rather laugh than ruin your experience. If you prefer a polished product though, with all the DLCs, you'll have to wait a little bit longer, because even the first DLCs is still on its way. But for longtime fans, there was no reason to wait, you had to dive in, and if you haven't done it so for some reason, or just do it. The story, I won't spoil anything, but I'll tell you that it's surprising at many corners. Some people will love it, some people won't really much, but it's big, epic, and reveals a lot of things that you always wanted to reveal. If you're a big fan, most of the questions that you had, if not all of them, you'll find an answer to them, you'll just have to pay attention.
Any fan who can set aside scandals and perhaps the political context and give this game a chance will understand that this is the very Stalker we've been waiting for. The best of the original trilogy, the best of the awful but wildly atmospheric books in this universe. The best of the user mods are now gathered here in a furious cocktail of atmospheric surroundings, incredible immersion, cool combat, excellent staging, and the charm of that very Stalker. Personally, I want to know how the game, with all its elements merging in symphony, creates a feeling of complete association with what's happening on a screen. The music in game, the voice acting, the campfire stories, the weather conditions, and the sound design, everything is crafted and combined in a perfect cocktail. You have to try yourself in a world of zone. What's particularly important to me as someone involved in music is that Stalker 2 sounds incredibly well. The music in the game is interwoven into narrative and feels not just as ambient, but as another way of sensing what the zone invisibly conveys to its inhabitants. The new soundtrack is always playing, always accompanying your gameplay, and it starts doing this from the main menu. From the very first time you launch the Stalker 2 PC.
Yes, so Stalker 2 also tells you two stories simultaneously. The first one, yes, it's obvious. The main plot, side quests, key characters, the main character. But the second one is well hidden. It's the story of the zone itself and your own personal journey inside it. The experience that you have while wandering this harsh, unpredictable world. I was playing simultaneously with 4 of my friends. Even though we were at the similar points and time in this game, each of us has had wildly different experiences. Our stories are unique, and your emotions will be too. For example, I was crossing a dark swamp, heading towards an object, when I heard a faint voice somewhere in the air. A radio? No. Shaking it off, I just kept moving. Suddenly, something hit me from behind. I screamed, raised my rifle. Nothing. Then I saw a familiar abandoned ship and a crane floated in the air and hurled toward me. So I quickly dashed inside and all the objects inside were flying. Then I heard a voice. A cheerful Ukrainian song playing on the radio. In the middle of this somewhat confusing, somewhat eerie scene, I saw it. A terrifying poltergeist. It wasn't just a random encounter, it was a fight for survival. Every second counted. Just one location, one mutant, but it became a story I will never forget. That's what makes Stalker special. Dozens of these moments await. Stories to share, around a campfire, or in Discord chat. If you're a fan, this video won't change your mind. You'll play this game and you will love it. JC faced incredible odds and still delivered something remarkable. With time, patches and DLC, it will only get better. For me, this project will stay in my heart forever. I savored every moment in the zone, and yes, it's that Stalker we've all been waiting for. But that's my experience. Yours might be different, so go ahead, explore, see your zone for yourself. So now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get some loot for Sidorovich. Good hunting, Stalker.